all. The final moments caught on camera. The search tonight for answers. The death toll growing in one of the worst Russian strikes on civilians since the war in Ukraine began. Italy's most wanted man captured. How a notorious mafia boss was found hiding in plain sight after 30 years on the run. And honoring a civil rights icon, the images from across the country on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. California tonight suffering the effects of its 10th consecutive storm. Weeks of rain from an atmospheric river undermining roads, some crumbling right before the eyes of horrified onlookers. Saturated hillsides turning to mudslides. The round of storms now blamed for the deaths of at least 22 people. Search and rescue operations continuing today across flooded areas. Right now, 7 million people are under flood watches along the Central Coast north through the Bay Area. Tonight, forecasters say an end to the storm cycle is in sight now, but with hundreds of debris slides and damaged roadways, California faces a daunting recovery. Miguel Almaguer leads us off tonight with the very latest.
Witnessing Darwin. Oh, it's right here! Oh my God, get away!
Tonight, this is California's catastrophe, a waterlogged state where roads and hills are buckling, breaking, and busting into pieces. A state of emergency, and for many, a state of shock.
Within a matter of minutes, it just started flooding.
Battered today by its 10th storm in 2.5 weeks.
It's like a freaking monsoon out there.
The Golden State, a soggy one, and now the death toll rising to at least 20 as thousands remain under evacuation orders.
This used to be a 50-year flood zone, and now it's a 3 to 5 year flood zone.
The dumping deluge swept away motorists, submerged neighborhoods, and left behind an astonishing trail of destruction. Mark Whitcomb was flooded 3 times in January.
This mud came in really heavy during the last week. It poured in about 2 feet inside the house, so this will be a lot of work to dig out.
With over 400 landslides in just under 3 weeks, roads and highways are compromised.
Now that the White House has declared a disaster declaration, cities and counties across California will begin to assess the damage and the repairs. Experts believe the damage to infrastructure could easily top $1 billion and take months to fix.
Just as millions begin to dig out, the Sierras are being buried. But tonight, as this devastating series of storms finally begins to clear, it's now giving way to an unprecedented view of destruction.
And Miguel, we're seeing these mud-covered roads. To be clear, a lot of these aren't just backcountry roads. They're major roads impassable.
Yeah, that's right, Lester. That's Highway 9 behind me. It's completely shut down. I want to show you some video from our drone overhead. It shows half of the hillside has just tumbled onto the road, a major thoroughfare. That road is now compromised. It's going to take weeks to clean up, and to clear this one road, it'll be in the millions.
Man,
Lester.
what a mess. All right, Miguel, thanks very much. Let's bring in Bill Cairns. Bill, so the rain is going to end soon in California, but the rest of the country may get a visit from this storm.
Yeah, well, we're going to deal with this one in the days ahead. We have one more storm to go, though, in California, and it doesn't take much anymore. The ground's just so soggy, it gives way so quickly. Even this next storm that comes in, especially Wednesday into Wednesday night, it's only going to bring a brief period of rain that's going to move down the coast, but that brief period will cause issues with landslides and mudslides and possibly debris flows. Again, this is Wednesday evening that passes through. In Southern California, you get lucky, it dries up before it gets to you. As far as the other issue, this is the storm that hit California today. Tomorrow in the Rockies, Wednesday, watch out, another chance of severe storms. Hopefully this won't be a big tornado outbreak like last week, but we're watching out for you in Louisiana and Arkansas and Lester. We also got the snowstorm from Denver to Milwaukee to deal with too.
All right, fun. Bill Cairns, thanks very much. Let's get now to the growing demands for answers about those classified documents found in President Biden's former office and Delaware home, including his garage. The White House saying even more secret material has been discovered. Monica Alba is at the White House with the latest.
Tonight, President Biden publicly silent about the special counsel's investigation into his handling of classified material.
How do you think that the classified documents got into your boxes?
ignoring reporters' questions for a fourth straight day, while privately expressing frustration with the growing backlash, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter. It comes as the White House revealed this weekend additional pages of classified documents were discovered inside the president's Delaware home. So far, the total number of classified records recovered is unclear, with about a dozen identified at Mr. Biden's private office, including, sources tell NBC News, at least 1 document marked top secret, followed by 2 batches discovered at the Wilmington residence, including inside the garage. None of those sites are approved to store sensitive government material. The White House now facing intensifying criticism about a lack of transparency. The first classified documents were discovered by Biden attorneys a week before the midterms, but the public was not told until just last week, only following media reports.
The truth is that they suppressed the information before the election so that it would not have impact during the election. The stench of hypocrisy coming from this administration is making the American people sick.
The president's personal attorney insisting they cannot release certain details, quote, relevant to the investigation while it is ongoing. The White House has pledged to cooperate with the special counsel, noting differences in volume and response to the classified records found at former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. But some Democrats saying national security may have been jeopardized by where Mr. Biden was storing classified documents.
I don't think we can exclude the possibility without knowing more of the facts.
And Monica, now Republicans want to know who may have had access to the classified documents stored in the president's Delaware home.
That's right, but the White House says those visitor logs simply do not exist. Secret Service does background checks on those who come and go, though they don't keep those records long term, a standard practice for presidents' personal homes. Lester?
Monica Alba, thank you. Now to that close call with seconds to spare at JFK Airport, the FAA and NTSB investigating how an American Airlines jet came to cross the runway just as a Delta flight was about to take off. Here's Tom Costello.
At first, the radio conversation sounded routine.
Runway 4 left, clear for takeoff. Clear for takeoff, runway 4 left, Delta 1943.
A Delta Airlines 737 cleared for departure. But seconds later, controllers saw an American Airlines 777 instructed to taxi across a different runway, suddenly cutting right across the path of the Delta jet. Controllers urgently ordered both planes to stop.
Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance. Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance. Rejecting.
American 106 Heavy, American 106 Heavy, hold position. American 106 Heavy, hold position.
The Delta jet, traveling at 115 miles per hour, was just seconds from impact. Slamming on the brakes, it stopped 1,000 feet short of the American plane.
The Delta 1943.
Passenger Brian Healy was on the Delta flight.
I felt then adrenaline, and there was total quiet on the plane, and then there was relief when the plane came to a stop.
Where was the miscommunication between the American crew and the air traffic controllers?
A very close call that reminds some experts of the horrific runway crash in 1977 involving 2 fully loaded 747s in Tenerife that killed 583 people and led to an overhaul of runway and radio protocols. Today, runway status lights and automated warning systems alert pilots and controllers of potential conflicts. Retired JFK controller Steve Abraham says this time, thankfully, the system worked just in time.
There was no chance that the Delta airplane would have lifted off the runway and been able to overfly the American jet if they had been in the same spot on the runway at the same time.
And Tom, close calls involving planes and vehicles on runways are not that uncommon, but they're rarely this serious, it seems.
Yeah, there were 1,700 nationwide last year. They're called runway incursions. Most are minor. This one is serious. Delta says it's cooperating with the investigation. American is referring all questions to the FAA, Lester.
All right, Tom Costello. Tom, thank you. In Nepal, investigators have recovered the flight recorders that were on that commuter plane that crashed with 72 people on board. Molly Hunter has details.
Tonight, the first clues. Investigators are on the scene trying to understand what brought down Yeti Flight 691 just seconds before it was scheduled to land. The cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder have now been recovered intact. Sunday's flight in the Himalayan nation of Nepal was supposed to be a routine trip, just 27 minutes from the capital Kathmandu to the popular tourist destination of Pokhara. On board, 72 people, including 15 foreign nationals. And authorities say tonight there are no signs of survivors. Investigators will also analyze video. This Facebook live stream recording the plane coming into land all appears normal. And this video taken from a rooftop, the twin-engine ATR-72 banking hard to the left, rolling 90 degrees, then flying out of shot. Then you hear the terrifying impact. Experts citing the possibility of an aerodynamic stall when a plane suddenly flies too slowly and loses its lift.
In this case, they're going to have to determine why that airplane was flying so slow, and also to see if they had the airplane properly configured. Wind could be an environmental factor that must be examined as well.
The co-pilot was a veteran of the route, according
Zabig, 8th grade student, and I love physics.
Hi, I'm Shalani Talaman, 8th grade student, and I love biology.
Hi, I'm Sanaya King. I'm an 8th grade student and I love chemistry. And we are the UBI Water Ambassadors and Future Scientists of Adelita Cancrine Junior High School.
Hi, my name is Cecile Penn, and I am a science teacher at the Adelita Cancrine Intermediate and Junior High School. I have been involved with UVI and the Water Ambassadors Program for more than 8 years. On behalf of UVI President Dr. Hall, the College of Science and Math, and UVI Caribbean Green Technology Center, we want to welcome our colleagues at school across the territory, nationally and internationally.
Serving as the co-director and co-principal investigator of the Engineering for Us All, or E4USA program. The E4USA program seeks to demystify and democratize engineering for us all.
Notice the clear blue seas and the beautiful beaches that describe Hull, Megan's, and Trunk Bay. Join me as I take you on a virtual tour of the USVI. Megan's Bay. The water is usually very calm with no waves occurring. Great for floating along and for swimming. The bay deepens gradually from shore, making it perfect for small children. Snorkel.
To learn more and to consider joining us. Now, off to an awesome day.
Through a message in a bottle out to sea nearly 40 years ago. Hallie Jackson now with Inspiring America.
The Carmax family couldn't believe it when they saw the note inside this old Pepsi bottle that washed up in a Florida lagoon.
Like a rotten, stinky egg.
A couple of teachers cleaning up after Hurricane Nicole had spotted it and passed it along.
Good day, my name is Dr. Stacey.
Miles over the course of almost 4 decades. Do you remember what the note said?
I wrote, whoever finds this, call me or write to me.
The Carmaxes wanted to, but they only had a name, a number, and Google. So after some serious sleuthing, they sent a message of their own. Text, not bottle.
I couldn't believe it. For them to actually take the time to seek me out and
Good day, my name is Dr. Stacy Klein-Gardner, and I'm an adjunct professor of biomedical engineering here at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. I have the pleasure of serving as the co-director and co-principal investigator of the Engineering for Us All, or E4USA program. The E4USA program seeks to demystify and democratize engineering for us all. The overarching goal is to introduce a broad spectrum of students
Don't wait, don't make that mistake. Don't leave your family in a fix.
all this stuff I can't afford. You know, I had to buy this tank just to get gas in it from the RV. It's been crazy, man.
While drier conditions are expected starting tomorrow, the risk of mudslides will linger on since the state is so saturated. In Nepal, search teams retrieved the flight data and cockpit voice recorders from the site of the country's deadliest plane crash in 30 years. Relatives waited outside hospitals to retrieve bodies of the 69 people who died after the passenger plane went down Sunday. Rescuers searched for 3 missing people. Nearby residents described
You show us the way forward. We just have to look back. We got to be prepared.
in Atlanta today, King's youngest daughter, the Reverend Bernice King, urged all politicians to live her father's message. A boss who has been on the run for more than 3 decades. Officers today escorted Matteo Messina Denaro from a health clinic in Palermo, where he'd been using a fake name. For her role in Come September, starring alongside Rock Hudson. She was also an accomplished painter and photographer. Gina Lollobrigida was 95 years old. Still to come on the News Hour, the latest on the classified documents found at President Biden's home. Pivotal week for Western efforts to provide Ukraine. Continue, but officials acknowledge that there is little hope of finding anyone alive.
In the residential building that is torn in two, death is still far too easy to find. Today, emergency workers hope to rescue the injured. So far, they've only needed body bags. Across the street, a makeshift memorial. In a war that has already caused so much destruction and stolen even the most innocent, neighbors wonder why they survived and can only hope their prayers protect the dead.
All of us could be in that place. People, children.
Saturday's strike buried hundreds of people under the rubble. The Russian missile hit in the middle of a residential neighborhood, one of Russia's deadliest attacks on civilians in nearly 11 months of war. It struck at night. The massive apartment complex it hit obliterated. The pain of a mother who watched her son die unspeakable.
What did you kill him for? What did you do to my son? May you be damned for the whole of your lives by everybody, by me personally and by all the mother's tears.
The attack coincided with the Orthodox New Year, celebrated by both Ukrainians and Russians. Online, Ukrainians post videos of families inside the apartment building before and the same kitchen after it was ripped open. President Volodymyr Zelensky called it terrorism and said Ukraine would not lose hope.
We are fighting for every person. The rescue operation will last as long as there is even the slightest chance to save lives.
And he used the attack to once again criticize Russians for not criticizing the war enough.
I want to say to all those in Russia and from Russia, your cowardly silence, your attempt to wait out what is happening, will only end with the same terrorists coming for you one day.
Today, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the building was actually struck by a Ukrainian missile.
Russian armed forces do not strike neither residential buildings nor the sites of civilian infrastructure. The strikes are aimed at military targets.
To strengthen its military, Ukraine has asked for Western tanks to upgrade its mostly Soviet-era armor. And now, for the first time, the West will provide them. This weekend, the United Kingdom announced it will send 14 Challenger 2 tanks. Today in Parliament, British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said the tanks would help Ukraine achieve, quote, victory. And he urged Germany to send its tanks, the Leopard 2, which Ukraine has prioritized.
There's a debate in Germany at the moment about whether a tank is an offensive weapon or a defensive weapon. Well, it depends what you're using it for. If you're using it to defend your country, I would wager that it is a defensive weapon system.
They have better battlefield mobility. They bring more firepower, and most importantly, they bring much more sophisticated targeting capabilities, allowing them to shoot and kill first on the battlefield.
Retired General Philip Breedlove is the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO and the U.S.'s top European commander.
Tactically, how much of a difference can 14 British tanks really make to the Ukrainian army?
Tactically, very little. But in breaking that policy hold on this kind of equipment, we hope now that nations will begin to supply more sufficient numbers that will then have a big effect on the battlefield.
Poland has promised to send its Leopards, and Finland could follow if Germany gives approval. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki.
The battle for our freedom, our future, is raging as we speak. And if we have been investing for years in heavy war equipment, in tanks, they must not be left to rust in storehouses, but be placed in the hands of Europe's defenders.
Ukraine urges the U.S. to follow with its M1A1 Abrams tanks. And Breedlove and others urge the U.S. to go further and send longer-range systems the administration has so far blocked for fear of escalating the war.
Do you think Washington should be afraid of escalation?
Well, to say that we shouldn't consider it and think about it would be foolish. But to be deterred by it, which I believe we are in a large way deterred by this fear, that is a problem. The bottom line is right now, speed is of the essence.
But right now, there's little Ukraine can do to prevent Russian strikes on civilians. And so Ukrainians fear they face more days like today.
Well, to say that we shouldn't consider it and think about it would be foolish. But to be deterred by it.
The White House confirmed today there are no visitor logs for the president's Delaware home, where the president's lawyers found additional documents with potentially classified markings. Laura Barón-López brings us here, is with me here now, and brings us up to speed. Laura, welcome. So what did the White House say today about these visitor logs?
So White House spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, Ian Sam, said that there are no visitor logs for the president's Wilmington home, that is a personal residence and in keeping with past traditions for presidents. That's personal. They're not going to keep records there, but that the White House, of course, has visitor logs, and they reinstated that after President Biden's predecessor did away with those. This response from the White House comes after House Republicans, in particular Congressman Jim Comer, who's going to lead the Oversight Committee, requested those logs and asked for them, even though they never asked. So White House spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, Ian Sam, said that there are no visitor logs for the president's Wilmington home, that is a personal residence and in keeping with past traditions for presidents. That's personal. They're not going to keep records there, but that the White House, of course, has visitor logs, and they reinstated that after President Biden's predecessor did away with those. This response from the White House comes after House Republicans, in particular Congressman Jim Comer, who's going to lead the Oversight Committee, requested those logs and asked for them, even though they never asked. So White House spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, Ian Sam, said that there are no visitor logs for the president's Wilmington home, that is a personal residence and in keeping with past traditions for presidents. That's personal. They're not going to keep records there, but that the White House, of course, has visitor logs, and they reinstated that after President Biden's predecessor did away with those. This response from the White House comes after House Republicans, in particular Congressman Jim Comer, who's going to lead the Oversight Committee, requested those logs and asked for them, even though they never asked.
As 2022 comes to a close, we are so thankful for the journey and all the wonderful things we have accomplished together for our students, this community, and for ourselves.
Some gifts come wrapped in nice, shiny, and colorful packages, but the true blessings walk into our lives and leave traces of light that brighten our world. Thank you for being a light in a world that is sometimes very dark. There are moments when all may seem lost, but these are only opportunities to find ourselves again and become a more brilliant light in the lives of others.
In 2023, may we all be the people of light and love in the Virgin Islands and beyond.
From our family to yours, Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year.